Heartland has been providing a ton of drama, love stories, and conclusions. It truly has everything. Nothing changed in Heartland episode 13 either. Many fans have questioned whether they are tying up loose ends in case season 17 isn't confirmed, because it seems to fix many of the problems that have existed during season 16. The 13th episode, Just Striking a Balance, was quite enjoyable and excellent. Naturally, there will be significant spoilers ahead, so if you haven't already, we advise you to watch Heartland episode 13. If you need a little refresher, we also have a recap of episode 12. Amy arrived at Lisa's stables, Fairfield, at the beginning of the episode to see Platinum Bow, the horse Lisa had purchased in episode 2. Lisa had been anxious about Platinum Bow's performance throughout the season because her investors were depending on the horse to be a winner. And after all of that, her relationship with Jack began to suffer from the stress and travel. And in this episode, we finally saw her take concrete efforts to lessen the stress in her life. The horse was obviously limping when Amy arrived in Fairfield, despite the fact that the vet had run a variety of tests on him and they had all come back negative. This meant that Amy first needed to determine what was wrong with Platinum Bow. The problem was made more frustrating by the fact that Bow didn't start limping until after he finished the day's activities, which was quite rare. Lisa and Amy decided to temporarily put Platinum Bow on stall rest. The situation with Bow, however, became more strained following a disagreement with Lisa's new stable manager Edwin and Bow's trainer Torrance, who neglected to check the schedule and exercised Bow even though he wasn't allowed to. To put it mildly, everyone was on edge, and Lisa even began to consider offering the horse for sale as a stud as her investors had advised. Amy, however, wasn't prepared to give up on Platinum Bow just yet because he was made for racing. Amy had a clue as to what might be the issue when she observed Bow watching Lisa go after she had finished brushing him. Yes, it was a little out there, even Amy appeared to think so, but she decided to go with her instinct. The two had become rather close since Lisa would brush Platinum Bow and give him a pep talk before each race. Later, Lisa acquired additional horses, leaving her with less time to devote to Bow. However, when the horse became sick, Lisa once more had the opportunity to interact closely with Bow, which led Amy to believe that Platinum Bow was limping in an effort to catch Lisa's eye. Bow had just recently started limping when Lisa arrived, as though he had discovered that if he was limping, Lisa would visit him. This notion was proven when Amy convinced Lisa to ride Platinum Bow, and despite Bow limping just before Lisa arrived at the ring, the horse was suddenly completely sound. There was no limp, nothing. They thus conducted a few more sessions with Lisa riding Bow in order to establish a new type of bond between them and reassure the horse that Lisa isn't leaving. Once more, Amy's miracle girl intuition were invaluable. After riding Bow and establishing their unique bond, Lisa convinced her investors to sell Platinum Bow to her so she could give the injured horse as much time as he needed to recover before he is put back on the track without being under additional pressure from the investors to perform well. Jack encouraged Lisa and Amy every step of the process and frequently checked in to see how Platinum Bow was doing. In this episode, he also had to cope with his own issues. For starters, Jack helped Caleb emotionally as he processed his divorce from Cassandra. When Caleb received a call from his mother at the beginning of the episode, we saw him helping Jack out with cleaning track. Jack inquired after Caleb about his family's well-being after he told his mother a fib about his significant rodeo the following weekend. At that point, Caleb acknowledged that there will shortly be a family reunion, but he would not attend because he was not in the mood for a major celebration at the time. Jack suggested that they go to the brownstone that evening for a burger and a beer so Caleb won't have to spend another lonely night in front of the TV since it was obvious that he wasn't as fine as he was pretending to be. The lead vocalist of the band that was performing that night saw Jack at the pub. Her father Bobby reportedly played drums in Jack's former wife Lindy's band back in the day, so she invited Jack to perform with her band on stage, even after encouragement from the vocalist and Caleb. The following morning, while Jack and Caleb were working, Lisa arrived to give Jack a cup of coffee before departing, and while she was there, she overheard Jack and Caleb discussing the lead singer's request that Jack join the band. Jack told Lisa that he wasn't interested in taking the singer's offer. Lisa, however, persuaded Jack to go forward because it would have given him the opportunity to pursue his passion. And it appears that Jack retained Lisa's advice. The song Jack composed from Katie's poem and performed for Katie and Lisa at the cabin in the previous episode was later performed by Jack and Katie. They were singing You Never Saw Me. Jack then had an idea at that point. Jack invited the entire family to the brownstone for supper to celebrate Amy solving the platinum bow mystery, but they had no idea that Jack had other plans for them. Jack quickly agreed when the same band that Jack and Caleb had seen the previous night asked him to play with them when they took the stage. Even his guitar was there, and he revealed from the stage that he had actually practiced a little bit with the band earlier that day. As a result, Amy and Katie came out on stage to perform with him and the band, singing The Truth Don't Lie in its entirety, the song that Jack composed using Katie's lyrics. The entire family was present to support Katie, Jack, and Amy while they performed. Speaking of Caleb, it wasn't just the night out with Jack that made him feel better about his second divorce. Amy finally took off her wedding rings, and Caleb remarked on it just before Jack, Amy, and Katie went on stage to perform with the band. This sparked a touching conversation between the two friends. Caleb was comforted by Amy that just because his second marriage had also ended in divorce, it doesn't mean he should feel ashamed or that he won't eventually find the appropriate partner. And it appeared that Caleb truly valued Amy's warm words. The discussion even caused Caleb to rethink attending his family's reunion the next weekend. Caleb asked Amy playfully, and perhaps a bit flirtatiously, if she wanted to accompany him to the reunion after he agreed to think about going. After Lisa and Katie's conversation while fishing in the previous episode, Katie immediately seemed to see Lou in a different light. Lou had made a pledge to Peter to relinquish some control over her daughters and allow them to approach her. However, initially it seemed as though not much had changed in this episode. Maggie's current crew went on strike under the banner, "Maggie's doesn't make the grade," while Katie rebelled against Lou. "We are underpaid and understaffed." Maggie's was understaffed as a result of Lou's inability to locate additional servers after those employed for the summer break quit, and Katie and Parker were forced to work on Sunday, rather than attend their favorite band, Blue Dream, in Calgary. Instead of putting more emphasis on hiring personnel for Maggie's, Lou became fixated on the radio interview that Rick was able to negotiate for her that would increase her prospects of winning re-election. Lou, of course, had a lot on her plate as well, including being a mother, re-establishing her marriage, managing several businesses, and serving as mayor of Hudson on top of all of that. Things became worse when Maggie's crew went on strike because they were so overworked and underprepared for lunch rushes that they could barely cover them. As a result, Katie and Lou fought for the whole of the episode. Lou even requested Rick's assistance at Maggie's, but when Rick's spouse called to say that they had to board a plane to pick up their daughter, Lou's perspective was changed. In order to drive Rick and Carl to the airport, she ended the dinner service for the evening. Observing it, Katie and Parker concluded that Lou had come to her senses. Because of this, Lou and Katie had a heated argument the following morning that left both of them angry. Lou said that she was going to go do the radio show and then would contact the Maggie's crew to see if any of them would be ready to return to work when Katie teased her about operating the diner by herself once more. Lou blew up and accused Katie of making Lou out to be some sort of monster because she wouldn't let her daughter go to a concert because she was, of course, sure and smug that none of them would do it. However, all of Katie's arrogance vanished when Lou revealed that she had only shut the diner last night because she had driven Rick and Carl to the airport so they could visit the infant girl they had adopted. Fortunately, Jack had some advice for his great-granddaughter during her singing session. Lou's attitude during her radio broadcast was predictably low following her confrontation with Katie. Lou broke the illusion that she could do it all and revealed to the show's host that she genuinely feels like she's failing as a mother, a company owner, and a mayor rather than attempting to be flawless. And while believing that she truly messed it this time and that Lou had no chance of being re-elected at this point, it turned out that honesty was the best course of action in the end. After the interview, Katie requested her mother to meet her at Maggie's, where she first calmed Lou by telling her that because others had appreciated her candor, it might not have been as bad as Lou had anticipated, and then expressed regret to her mother for how Lou had been treated. Finally, the two were able to reconcile, and as she and Lou headed to the pub to meet up with the rest of the family, Katie even managed to convince Maggie's crew to return to work. And in the following episode, Georgie will return home. Tim and Jessica traveled to Kananaskis as the rest of the family dealt with issues at home. Tim called his son Shane, with whom he had made contact again in episode 6, at the beginning of the episode. Tim was hopeful that they could get together since Shane was reportedly close in Kananaskis for a business retreat. Shane was initially apprehensive because he had a hectic schedule and was on a business retreat. But when Tim learned that Shane was playing squash and pretending to be an expert, Shane persuaded Tim to join him the following morning for a match. Tim consented because it appeared like there wouldn't be another chance for them to meet while Shane was in Canada, so Tim and Jessica traveled to Kananaskis. Despite not knowing anything about squash, the following morning we found Tim at the hotel dressed for the game and equipped with a racket, glasses, and other accessories. Then, to Tim's relief, Shane arrived to suggest that they meet for coffee that afternoon rather than play because he had to leave for a strategy session with his law firm's partners. And everything went well during their coffee date until Tim inquired about Shane's romantic life. Shane said that he and Chloe are still dating and that they will be getting married this spring. Although spring marks the beginning of the rodeo season, Shane nervously emphasized how they aren't planning a large wedding, simply the immediate family, hinting that Tim isn't invited. When Tim began talking about how he would make room for Shane's wedding, they left things in an unpleasant place because that chat was awkward enough, and Shane had to depart immediately after. Tim eventually opened up to Jessica about how heartbroken he was to not be invited to the wedding. Fortunately, Jessica was there to offer her husband some sage advice. The following morning, Jessica ran into Shane in the lobby, and he informed her that while he was happy to have been able to tell Tim about the wedding in person, he was disappointed that they were unable to play squash. Jessica responded by telling Shane that Tim doesn't truly know how to play squash, and that the only reason he consented to go was because he wanted to do something Shane enjoyed to do with him. She also explained to Shane how crucial it is for Tim to get back in touch with him. Shane was reminded of his most recent talk with Tim by that. Shane went to see his father one last time later that day before Tim and Jessica left for Heartland, and revealed to him the real reason why he had declined to ask Tim to his wedding. So it appears that Tim's worries about not getting in touch with Shane were unjustified, and the true reason why Shane delayed inviting Tim to his wedding was because he was frightened of the past happening again and them drifting apart. Fortunately, the father-son team was able to sort things out with Jessica's assistance, and is now doing better than ever. Tim even has a wedding in the spring that he needs to attend. The tension between Amy and Edwin made it quite interesting to watch her meet Lisa's new stable manager. The two initially disagreed on how to approach Platinum Bow's problem and what to do with the horse if Amy is unable to determine what is wrong with him. Lindy introduced Rebecca as her new best friend when she returned after a play date with one of the girls she met at the rodeo school early in the episode. Lindy requested permission to invite Rebecca and her mother to the property because it appears that Rebecca's mother is also kind. Amy naturally concurred, but Edwin went to Heartland with Lindy's new best friend instead of Rebecca and her mother. He is actually Rebecca's father, it turned out. Additionally, Rebecca's mother, who is separated but still gets along with Edwin, requested him to step in for her since she had a last-minute commitment at work. By the end of the play date, they had unquestionably improved their relationship. Additionally, Edwin added a Heartland logo to his rock, which was a cute little touch.